I stood there clutching a damp tissue in one hand and my grandson Josh's tiny fingers in the other as they lowered my son's casket into the ground. People around me sniffled. Some sobbed. A few just stared into space, like they didn't know what to feel. But I didn't cry. I couldn't. The kind of pain I felt doesn't come with tears. It just sits in your chest like a stone pressing so hard you forget how to breathe. And just as the dirt began to cover my boy, Alyssa leaned in close. Her perfume, sickly sweet, stung my throat. Tyler wanted me to have the house, she whispered. You know that, right? We should start the transfer this week. I blinked, thinking I must have misheard. But no. She smiled, like she was asking me to pass the salt. Cold, casual. Like my son's death was a step on her checklist. I stood frozen, stunned. If I opened my mouth, I would have screamed. Later at the reception, she acted like nothing happened, hugging people, laughing, sipping champagne like it was a bridal shower. During the slideshow of Tyler's childhood, she was on her phone smiling. I saw the name Marcus flash on the screen again and again. My son's body hadn't even cooled, and she was texting someone named Marcus. That night when Josh was asleep in the guest room, I sat alone in the kitchen. The house was small, not glamorous. 2 bedrooms, quiet street. But it was ours. Tyler grew up here. He painted superhero murals in his room. Every Christmas was here, and Alyssa wanted it, like it was hers to take. I thought about confronting her, but I knew her too well. She'd twist it, make me the villain, and Josh would be caught in the crossfire. So I nodded at the funeral, not in agreement, but to stop myself from breaking. But inside, I was igniting. If she wanted war, she'd get silence. If she wanted my house, she'd have to walk over my breathing body to get it. Because nobody disrespects my son at his funeral and walks away like nothing happened. The morning after the funeral, the silence in the house was different. Not peaceful, not calm, just empty. The kind of silence that makes the walls feel like they're holding their breath. Josh was still asleep, Spider-Man socks sticking out from under his blanket. I tiptoed past him and stood outside Tyler's old room. My hand hesitated on the doorknob. I hadn't opened it since he moved out after marrying Alyssa. It had always been too hard. But something drew me in. Maybe guilt. Maybe anger. Or maybe the aching need to feel close to my boy one more time. I pushed the door open. The air was thick with dust and the faint scent of aftershave. His posters were still on the wall. His favorite band, a faded college pennant. It looked untouched, like time had stopped when he left. Then I saw the laptop, closed out, dusty, resting next to a small voice recorder. I remembered how he used to practice speeches with that thing back in college. I picked it up and hit play without thinking. Most files were static or snippets of nonsense. Then I heard his voice. If anything ever happens to me, don't let Alyssa have everything. She's not who she pretends to be. Please, Mom, look after Josh. My whole body froze. The room spun. I hit replay. Again. Again. He sounded tired, worn, like someone who'd carried more than he ever shared. That was no coincidence. That was a warning. I clutched that recorder like it was a lifeline. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the recorder clutched to my chest like a sacred relic. Over and over again, Tyler's voice echoed in my mind. Don't let Alyssa have everything. Please, Mom, look after Josh. It haunted me, not just because of what he said, but because of what he didn't. He never told me this in person. What had he been protecting me from? Or worse, what had he already decided I couldn't fix? By sunrise, I had made up my mind. If there were more clues, more breadcrumbs, I'd find them. I walked back into his room this time without hesitation. The laptop was still there, dusty but intact. I opened it, and of course it was password protected. For a brief moment, I felt foolish. Of course, I didn't know it. But then I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and typed, Josh 2009. The screen lit up. A mother knows. I scanned the files quickly. Photos, spreadsheets, music job documents. Then I saw a folder personal in all caps. I clicked it open. Dozens of drafts. Letters. Notes. Some were addressed to no one. Others to me. And one was titled, To Mom, if something happens. My hands went ice cold. I don't know how to say this out loud. Alyssa's different now. I think she's seeing someone. I don't want to believe it. But she's gone a lot. There's this guy Marcus, he keeps texting her. I saw her phone once. He called her baby. I'm trying to work it out for Josh's sake. But if something happens to me, promise me you'll fight for him. Don't let her take him from you. I sat there staring at the words, my fingers trembling on the mouse pad. Tyler had been scared, suspicious, and still trying to shield his son. That kind of strength, it broke me. I printed the letter, saved every file onto a flash drive, and made 3 copies of the voice memo. I didn't know where this was going yet, but if Alyssa wanted a war built on lies, I'd fight her with truth. Still, I knew I couldn't do it alone. I walked out of Tyler's room that morning with a different kind of energy. My hands no longer trembled from grief, but from purpose. The voice memo, the letter he had spoken to me from beyond. I was no longer just reacting. I was hunting. I called Alan, the family lawyer. I asked him if he had Tyler's will. I expected him to tell me yes, that it was filed stored like Tyler had always done with every important document. But Alan hesitated. Alyssa filed a copy, he said. Weeks ago, actually, before the funeral. Before the funeral, I felt the cold creep into my bones. Alan continued. It's typed signed, but no video confirmation, no witness list. That's rare for Tyler. It wasn't just rare. It was wrong. My son was careful, methodical. Every legal paper he'd ever touched went through Alan. There was no way he would have left something like that entirely in Alyssa's hands. My stomach twisted. I thanked Alan and hung up. Then I stared at the wall like it held answers. Alyssa had moved fast. Too fast. She didn't just file a will. She prepared a narrative. And no one questioned her because she was the grieving widow. But I had something she didn't. Tyler's voice. His truth. And soon, I would have more. Sleep never came. I brewed coffee long past midnight and watched the steam curl like ghost in the dim kitchen light. The flash drive with Tyler's files lay beside the mug, a tiny plastic coffin holding everything he couldn't say out loud. There was only one person I trusted with raw digital truth. Theo Ramirez, Tyler's college roommate, part hacker, part therapist. The boy who once repaired Tyler's laptop with a paperclip and a prayer. I dialed his number at 1 a.m. He answered on the second ring, voice soft with grief. Mrs. Harper, I heard about Tyler. I'm so sorry. I didn't waste time on condolences. Tyler left me a warning about Alyssa, I said. I have a voice memo, an unsent email, and a folder of drafts. I think she forged his will. I need to know everything she's hiding. Theo didn't ask why. He simply said, send me what you have. I'll get back to you. Loyalty. I realize doesn't need an explanation. While files uploaded to Theo's encrypted drive, I paced the hallway, passing the growth chart marks Tyler once scratched onto the wall for Josh tiny pencil lines marching upward with every birthday. I ran my finger over the last mark, 6 years old. Tyler had drawn a crooked crown above it and written King Josh in shaky capital letters. The memory cracked me open. My knees buckled, but I caught myself on the wall. No more falling. Tyler asked me to fight. Fight meant standing. 3 days later, Theo called back. His tone had changed, tight controlled like he'd swallowed gunpowder. "You were right," he said. "How bad?" He explained Alyssa used a message deleting app, but her phone backed up automatically to cloud storage she didn't even know existed. Theo pulled 72 screenshots, late-night texts with a contact saved only as Marcus. Some were explicit photographs. Others were venom. He's so boring. When the will's through, the house is mine. If it kills me, I'll get something out of this marriage. Theo found hotel receipts, GPS pings matching Marcus's location, and a half-finished spreadsheet on Alyssa's laptop, calculating projected sale profits from my address title listed under a Shell LLC. He emailed everything to me in a folder named Alyssa evidence.zip. I opened one image and felt my pulse roar in my ears. Alyssa kissing Marcus in a hotel lobby, timestamped 2 weeks before Tyler died. Grief became adrenaline. I printed every screenshot in color, 3 copies, each one for Alan, one for court, one for safekeeping. The living room floor turned into a war map. Photos, receipts, hotel logs, Tyler's memo, his letter all pinned with yellow sticky notes. I drafted a list: 1. File police report. Fraud, forgery. 2. Freeze property title call insurance. 3. Emergency custody petition for Josh. 4. Confrontation. When and how. Every bullet point felt like a nail in Alyssa's plastic smile. I arrived at Alan's office with a manila envelope, so thick the clasp barely closed. He read the first 10 pages, removed his glasses, and swore under his breath. This isn't just a contested will. This is premeditated fraud and possibly criminal conspiracy. He promised to file an immediate motion to block any property transfer and start custody proceedings. But we'll need more than screenshots, he warned. We'll need Marcus. I nodded. Marcus was the weak link. People wrapped in fantasy rarely survive daylight. On the drive home, I rang the property insurer and cited potential estate fraud. By sunset, a 60-day hold barred any ownership change on the house. Alyssa could list it all she wanted. Nobody could legally touch the deed. That evening, Alyssa arrived to pick Josh up for the weekend, radiant rehearsed sorrow in her eyes. "Have you talked to Alan?" she asked, sugary. "Yes," I replied, matching her smile. "Things are moving forward." She seemed satisfied, unaware her empire was sinking beneath her stilettos. I didn't plan to look that day, but as I walked past the living room, something tugged at me. I sat down, opened my laptop, and typed the address 194 Prescott Drive. There it was, my house, listed on a property website I didn't recognize, posted by an out-of-state realtor I'd never heard of, and under the name of a company I didn't own, some Shell LLC registered in Nevada. The photos were recent. I saw my living room, the hallway, even the curtains I just replaced 2 weeks ago. She had taken those photos, quietly, during her last visit. She was trying to sell the house out from under me. I gritted my teeth, grabbed my phone, and dialed the agent's number. "I'm calling about the listing at 194 Prescott Drive," I said, voice steady. "Oh, yes, it just went live yesterday," the woman replied cheerfully. "It's beautifully staged and ready to move." "It's not for sale," I said sharply. "I'm the legal owner. That listing is fraudulent. If it's not removed immediately, you'll be hearing from my attorney." There was a long pause, then fumbling, then apologies. She promised to look into it. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from rage. That night, I waited until Josh had fallen asleep, curled under his superhero blanket. I walked quietly into Tyler's room. I sat down at his desk and stared at the photo of the 3 of us taken the last Thanksgiving before he died. Tyler was in the center. Josh on his lap, me behind them, both arms wrapped around them like a shield. He had tried so hard to keep things together, even while it was falling apart behind his back. And now Alyssa wasn't just trying to sell the house. She was trying to erase him, but she underestimated the wrong woman. The next morning she arrived in the driveway. Lip gloss, soft smile, fake warmth. Josh ran into her arms. "Did you talk to Alan yet?" she asked sweetly. I matched her expression. "Yes," I said calmly. "Things are moving forward. You'll get an update soon." She smiled like she'd already won. Then she turned to leave. That's when I saw a notification flash on her dashboard as she started her car. New message from Marcus. Tell her it's already listed. My chest turned to fire. She thought she was ahead. She didn't know I already knew. The moment I saw the fake listing, I knew something had to change. Legal routes were quiet, slow. Alyssa thrived in silence behind closed doors and sealed files. But shame was instant, and she had built her image around perfection. So I planned the dinner. I told her I wanted to make peace for Josh's sake, invited her and a few relatives to a small gathering at the house. Nothing fancy, just food, wine, and a chance to move forward. I even told her she could bring Marcus. She hesitated but said yes. Maybe she thought I was cracking. Maybe she thought she'd won. But I had everything ready. 3 days. That's how long I took. Every photo Theo uncovered, printed. The voice memo queued up on my phone. Flash drive, loaded with evidence. Alan invited as a family friend. I cooked lasagna, set out candles, wiped the frames of every photo Tyler had ever smiled in. The house gleamed like it too was waiting for justice. And Alyssa arrived first. She looked triumphant. She wore white. Of course she did. Marcus trailed behind, too young, too casual, completely unaware of the storm he'd stepped into. Josh ran into my arms when he saw me. I held him longer than usual. He didn't know what tonight meant, but I did. Dinner was awkward. Fake smiles, empty compliments. Marcus bragged about tech startups. Alyssa played the grieving widow turned visionary. I waited. Let her talk. Let her sip wine like it was a coronation. And when dessert came, when the pie was sliced and the table fell into calm murmurs, I stood. I have something to share, I said. Something Tyler would want you to hear. Silence. I tapped play. If anything happens to me, don't let Alyssa have everything. Please, Mom, look after Josh. Tyler's voice echoed across the room like a ghost with purpose. Alyssa's wine glass froze midair. Marcus blinked confused, then alarmed. I handed out the folders, screenshots, emails, hotel logs, her texts, her lies. Marcus read the first page, looked at her and whispered, "You told me he hit you." She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. He stood. Left. Alyssa trembled. Her face drained of color. "You set me up," she whispered. "No," I said. "You did that yourself. I just brought the receipts." She stormed out, pie untouched. No one moved. No one defended her. And for the first time in weeks, my hands didn't shake. The morning after the dinner, I found Josh sitting on the stairs, his knees tucked to his chest. In his hands was the framed family photo from the living room. He looked up at me, eyes swollen from quiet crying. Why was Mommy lying to everyone? The question knocked the air from my lungs. I sat down beside him, heart cracking. Sometimes, I said carefully, grown-ups make choices that hurt others, but it's not your fault. And it doesn't mean you're not loved. He didn't say anything. That silence, heavier than any argument, hung between us for the rest of the day. I waited until Josh was asleep that night, then picked up the phone and called Alan. "I'm ready," I said. "I want to file for custody." This wasn't revenge anymore. This was rescue. Alyssa didn't just lie. She tried to rewrite Tyler's legacy, cheat Josh of stability, and weaponize grief for profit. I wasn't going to let her continue. Alan agreed to file an emergency petition citing emotional manipulation, fraudulent property action, unstable home environment, and we had proof: the memo, the unsent letter, the sale attempt, and now Marcus. That same night, Marcus emailed a sworn statement. He admitted the affair, that Alyssa told him Tyler was cold and controlling, that she was planning to get something out of this marriage no matter what. He said he left when he realized she had lied even about Tyler's character and the nature of their separation. His last sentence hit hardest. I walked away the second I saw what she was capable of. And within 24 hours, CPS called. They wanted to schedule a home visit and assess Josh's well-being. I spent the day scrubbing the house, not to fake anything, but to show the truth: this home was safe, clean, full of love. Josh answered the door when the agent arrived. He greeted her with cookies, showed her his comic books, told her about his fort made from couch pillows. She smiled but watched everything carefully. We talked for over an hour. I didn't tell every ugly detail, but I told the truth. His father is gone. His mother is unstable, and he needs peace, not chaos. That night, Alyssa showed up, not calm, not sweet. She pounded on the door like a hurricane. "You think you can steal my son too?" she screamed. "You think you can just take everything?" I stepped outside and closed the door behind me, blocking Josh from her rage. "I'm not taking anything," I said. "I'm saving him." Her face twisted. "You poisoned him against me. You've always hated me." I didn't argue. I didn't need to. I have proof. I have custody paperwork. And after what happened at that dinner, you're lucky if anyone lets you see him unsupervised. She froze, then laughed bitterly, muttering something about revenge and lawyers before storming off. Josh peeked from the window. "Is Mommy mad?" he whispered. I knelt beside him. "She's confused," I said, "but it's going to be okay. I promise." And for the first time in weeks, I believed it. Enter. The day after the CPS visit, I was folding laundry in the living room when my phone rang. Theo's voice was quicker than usual, urgent. "I found something," he said. A draft of Tyler's will, dated 2 weeks before he died. I stopped breathing. "Was it signed?" "No," he replied. "But it's detailed." In his personal email. It was clearly written with intent. He read it to me. "In the event of my death, I want full guardianship of Joshua to go to my mother Marie if Alyssa is deemed unfit, or if I'm no longer around to ensure his safety. I do not want Alyssa to inherit the house. This property was purchased using my father's inheritance and should remain in the family line through Marie. Under no circumstance should the house be sold without Marie's approval." I couldn't speak. My knees buckled. Tyler had seen this coming. He knew her better than I did, and he really tried to stop it. Theo emailed me the PDF. I forwarded it to Alan within the hour. He called me back after reading it. "This helps tremendously," he said. "Intent matters. And with everything else we've gathered, this might just crush her claim completely." That night, I printed the will and placed it on the mantel beside Tyler's photo, not as closure, but as a symbol. We weren't just surviving. We were finishing what he started. 2 days later, Alyssa filed a counter motion, claiming I was manipulating Josh, claiming I was alienating him from her, calling me emotionally unstable. It was full of half-truths and fabrications, a performance in paperwork. But what she didn't realize was her credibility was gone. Alan submitted the draft will, the voice memo, the fake sale listing, Marcus's affidavit, Theo's screenshots. Together they weren't just a case, they were a story, one no judge could ignore. The judge didn't issue a final ruling yet, but he granted me temporary full guardianship of Josh. We had 30 days until the full hearing. I hung up the phone, heart pounding. That afternoon, Alyssa tried calling me. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice trembled. I didn't mean for things to get this bad. Can we talk? I miss my son. I sat there for a long time listening. I wasn't heartless. I knew what it meant to miss someone. But missing Josh didn't erase what she'd done to Tyler. That night, Josh and I made mac and cheese. As he stirred the pot, he asked, "Do you think Daddy's proud of us?" My throat tightened. I smiled. I know he is. Because even without a signature, Tyler's voice was louder than ever, and I was still listening. Gents, the courthouse smelled like old carpet and cold air. I sat on a bench in the hallway, Josh's backpack at my feet, filled with snacks, colored pencils, and hope. He drew quietly beside me while we waited. Across the corridor, Alyssa arrived. Late. Sunglasses on, tight blazer. She looked like someone trying to sell strength she didn't own. Her lawyer followed behind her, already flipping through files like he knew what was coming. Inside, everything felt slower than real life, but every word hit like thunder. Alan began. He introduced the unsigned will, the memo Tyler left, the fake house listing, the sale documents, Marcus's affidavit, screenshots of Alyssa's texts and messages. He painted a clear timeline. Tyler suspected deception, Alyssa forged control, and Josh needed safety. Alyssa denied it all, tears, trembles. She accused Tyler of being cold, me of being manipulative. But the judge asked one question. "Do you have proof that Tyler wanted you to inherit the house?" She was silent. No texts, no emails, no video, just her word. And that word had already collapsed. Alan stood again. "Your Honor, with your permission, one last piece of evidence." He pressed play on the recording. "If anything happens to me, don't let Alyssa have everything. She's not who she pretends to be." "Please, Mom, look after Josh." Tyler's voice hung in the courtroom like a prayer. The judge closed his file, folded his hands. "I've heard enough." Temporary guardianship converted to permanent custody. Property transfer request denied and frozen. Fraud investigation referred to the DA's office. Alyssa stared forward motionless. She didn't cry, didn't look at me. She looked at nothing. In the parking lot afterward, she approached one last time. "Can I say goodbye?" she asked, voice hollow. I looked at Josh. He nodded slightly. She knelt down, whispered something in his ear. He didn't answer. He just hugged her briefly, then turned and walked toward me. "I didn't mean for this to happen," Alyssa said, voice cracking. "I met her eyes steady, but you planned it. And that's why you lost." She walked away, back to her car, back to the life she burned down herself. That evening I made grilled cheese sandwiches while Josh colored at the table. He drew a house with 3 figures, one tall, one small, and me. "You're like a mom and a grandma," he said quietly. I cried, not from sadness, but from peace. We had a home, and no one would take it again. It's been 4 months since the court hearing, and the house feels different now. Not quieter, not haunted, just steady, like it finally exhaled after holding its breath for too long. The mail doesn't carry threats anymore. There are no lawyers at the door, no scent of Alyssa's perfume lingering in the hallway. Josh started sleeping in Tyler's old room by choice. "It makes me feel like he's still here," he said. I didn't change a thing, except for one bookshelf. I let Josh fill it with comic books, puzzles, and a photo of him and Tyler fishing by the lake. Sometimes I catch him talking to that photo, and somehow I believe Tyler hears him. Mew. Alyssa hasn't visited since the custody ruling. Her parental rights weren't terminated, just restricted, but she never scheduled a single visit. Maybe it's shame. Maybe she's still plotting, but I'm not afraid anymore, because I know the truth stands taller than any lie she ever built. I painted the kitchen, planted flowers by the porch, replaced the ugly curtains Tyler always hated, but I never touched the doorway where Tyler once marked Josh's height. Every pencil line is still there, like quiet tattoos of a love that refused to fade. At night, I sit with that voice recorder in my hand, not to mourn, but to remember, "Please, Mom, look after Josh." I did, son. I am. The last week, Josh brought home a school project, a poster titled "My Hero." In the center, a photo of him and Tyler, and beside it a drawing of me, arms wide, heart big, house in the background. His caption read, "My grandma is my hero because she keeps our house safe and always tells the truth." I cried reading it, because it wasn't just about the house. It was about who we are inside it. Sometimes the greatest battles don't happen on battlefields. They happen in kitchens, courtrooms, and the quiet space between grief and resolve. This wasn't just a fight for a house. It was a fight for a child's future, a son's legacy, and a woman's right to be heard. And we won. Not with fists, but with truth.